How are you doing, math learners? This is your free access math teacher Ash, and welcome to ML with Sir Ash. Today, we're going to discuss factoring polynomials with general trinomials and perfect square trinomials. So, hit that subscribe button and notification bell for you to be updated of these cool math videos just like this. Hello math learners! Today, we're going to discuss factoring polynomials. And the objectives for today's lesson is to factor completely polynomials using the perfect square trinomials and general trinomials. So, let us start. Okay math learners, now, we're going to discuss first the perfect square trinomials. The question is, what is a perfect square trinomial? Number 1, trinomial is a 3-term polynomial. Number 2, what is a perfect square trinomial or perfect square? It means that the factors of this kind of trinomial is identical. Therefore, factor 1 and factor 2 are just the same. Now, how do we know that a trinomial is a perfect square trinomial? So this is the standard form of a perfect square trinomial. The first standard is like this: a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. While the second standard is a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Now, let us observe the difference of these two standards. This is the standard in which the first term and the last term are perfect squares. Same goes to this standard. However, the two standards only differ on their middle term, plus 2ab, while here is a minus 2ab. Now, what does this indicate? The factors for a squared plus 2ab plus b squared is technically a plus b times a plus b. Or, we could just write a plus b squared, or the quantity of a plus b squared. Okay? While, in this given standard, the factors are a minus b times a minus b. If we take this as 1, it is a minus b squared. Okay, or the quantity of a minus b squared. Now, as you can see, this kind of standard has an identical factors. Same goes to this kind of standard. It has an identical factors. Now, how do we know that if we have some examples, this example is under the perfect square trinomial? The first thing you should know is the first and last term should be perfect squares. And then, the middle term is either positive or negative, but it is twice the product of the first and the last term. Again, it may be positive or negative, but the value is twice or 2 times the product of the first and the last term. Now, let's consider some examples. Okay, math learners, let us now have some examples. We have here a trinomial 4x squared plus 20x plus 25. Now, let's consider the first term. 4 is a perfect square. X squared is also a perfect square. Now, in terms of variables, an expression is considered to be a perfect square if the exponents are even numbers. 2 is an even number. Okay. Let's go to the last term. We have here 25. 25 is a perfect square. Now, as we can see here, if we get the square root and the square root of 25, we have 2x and 5, right? Since this is positive, this is plus. Okay, now, the question is this correct? Now, for us to validate, we just multiply this, 2 times 2x times 5. 2x times 5 is 10. Then twice of 10 is 20. Then our answer is correct. Okay. Now let us go to our second example. We have here x squared. X squared is a perfect square. 16 is also a perfect square. So therefore, we can just make one quantity, and the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 16 is 4. we just copy the sign, minus, and put a squared outside the quantity. Now, let's try if this validates our middle term. X times negative 4 is 4x. Twice of 4x is negative 8x. Therefore, our answer for this given example is correct. Alright, that's how you consider how to factor polynomials with perfect square trinomials. Now, let us go to general trinomials. Question: what is a general trinomial? Technically, general trinomials are polynomials with 3 terms. It has been said that it is a general trinomial because these are just normal trinomials that you will encounter in which factoring can be applied. Now, let's consider some examples. Okay, math learners, we have 2 examples for our general trinomials. The first one is x squared minus 5x minus 6. And the second one is x squared plus 6x plus 8. Now, as you can see, our first term here has a leading coefficient that is 1. It means that there is a value here, a numerical coefficient that is 1. Okay, if you don't know what is a leading coefficient, well, actually, a leading coefficient is a number in which it is beside the highest exponent. And our highest exponent here is x squared. The number beside that is what we call the leading coefficient. So, as you see, there is no number that is beside our highest exponent. Remember that if that's the case, there is always an invisible 1 beside that variable. Okay. Now, how do we factor this kind of trinomial? Technically, what you will do is you just make 2 quantities and then you factor first the first term. Since this is x squared, the factors of x squared are x and x. Okay. Now, after that, you consider the last term. That is negative 6. Now, we will get the factors of negative 6. Of course, we have 6 and negative 1. Negative 6 and positive 1. And then, we also have positive 2 and negative 3 and negative 2 and positive 3. Now, remember, if the sign of your last term is negative, that is a combination of 2 unlike signs, positive and negative. Okay, now, how do we know that which pair of these factors are we going to use for our factors in the given answers? Now, this is very simple. What you will do is you just add all the factors, and if the resulting sum is the same as your coefficient in the middle term, then that will be the factors that you will use. So, 6 plus negative 1 is positive 5. Negative 6 plus positive 1 is negative 5. 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1. Negative 2 plus 3, that is positive 1. So, as you can see, this is negative 5. So, we already have here a negative 5. Therefore, we can use negative 6 and positive 1 as our factors to be placed in our quantities. So, this will be minus 6 and this will be positive 1. Now, if you want to ask me, is it okay that I will put positive 1 here and negative 6 here? Yes, you can. They are just the same. Okay? That's as simple as that. Now, if you want to check whether your answer is correct, you can use the FOIL method. By using the FOIL method, we have here x squared, outer term, x times 1, that is positive x, inner term, negative 6 times x, that's negative 6x, and then last term, negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. In this part, we can still simplify these two terms. So we have x squared, x minus 6x is negative 5x. Then you just copy the negative 6 and they are just the same as your original answer. Therefore, your factors x minus 6 and x plus 1 is correct. Okay, now let us go to our second example. What we will do here is the same as what we did earlier. We make two quantities, okay? And then we have the factors for the first term, x squared, we have x and x. Okay, and then we factor positive a. Now, remember, if we are talking about positive, positive is a result from two positive numbers and two negative numbers. Now, I will give you a simple secret. If your middle term is positive, do not ever consider the negative pairs. You just use the positive pairs. If this is negative and then this is positive, then use negative pairs and do not consider positive pairs. Now, as we can see, our middle term is positive. Therefore, we'll just consider positive pairs. Okay. Positive pairs of factors are for 8 are 8 and 1, 2 and positive 4. And is there anything else? Okay, none. So now we add this one. 8 plus 1 is 9. 2 plus 4 is 6. Our middle term is positive 6. So therefore, what we will use in our factors are positive 2 and positive 4. So we have x plus 2 and x plus 4 as its factors. Again, you can interchange positive 2 and positive 4 in this given example. Okay, now let us go. What if our leading coefficient for the trinomial is higher than 1? And now, math learners, we are here to our final examples in which we have a leading coefficient that is greater than 1. Okay, the first example is 3x squared plus 14x plus 8. The second example is 25x squared plus 20x plus 4. Now, the question is, how do we factor this one? Well, I will say this to you, math learners, that there are two ways to solve this one. Number one is by trial and error, using the FOIL method. And the second one is what we call the groupings. Now, I will not teach you anything about trial and error because that is very tedious and sometimes it's going to make you lose all your motivation in answering the problem. So I will teach you the faster way, and that is the grouping method. Okay, so now we have here our first example, 3x squared plus 14x plus 8. The first thing we should do is we multiply the first and the last term. So 3x squared times 8, that is 24x squared. Okay, now remember that this is positive and positive. So therefore, if your last term is positive, you can only choose from two positive answers or two negative answers. But since our middle term here says that it is a positive, then let's not consider the negative pairs. Instead, let's just focus on positive pairs. Okay, now 24x squared. What are the factors of 24x squared? So first, we have 24x and x. And then we have 12x and 2x. Then we also have 6x and 4x. We also have 8x and 3x. What else? Nothing. Okay, so these are our factors for 24x squared. Now let us add them. When we add them, if the resulting answer is 14x squared, then that is the pair that we will use. 24x plus x, that is 25x. 12x plus 2x, that is 14x. We already have our answer. Now, if that's the case, you can still go on and so if that's the case, you can still go on or you can just stop right here. Okay, but for the sake of this argument, let's just consider to finish this. Okay, and we have here 11x. Now, we have here 12x and 2x, right? Now, the second step is we will change our middle term by 12x and 2x. The question is, can they be interchanged? Yes. Okay, so now let us change our middle term by the given factors that we have located. So we have 3x squared plus 12x plus 2x plus 8. Okay, let me just, alright. You got that? These 12x and 2x are this one, and this replaces our original 14x. Now, if you are in this period, you go to step 3, groupings. So, groupings, you group this one, okay? And then, you extract the common monomial factor. The same as what I taught you on the previous video. So what is the common monomial factor of 3x squared and 12x? 3 and 12, the common factor is 3. X squared and x, the common factor is x. Okay. So if we extract 3x to this one, we only have x. Then we put plus 12x extracted with 3x, or 12x divided by 3x, the answer is 4. Okay. So I'm finished with the first group. Now let's go to the second group. So I have here plus 2x plus 8. What is the common factor of 2x and 8? Okay, very good. That is 2. So we extract 2 from this group, and this will become x. 8 divided by 2, that will become 4. Now, as you can see, they have the same factors, x plus 4. Now you take that as 1, x plus 4. And finally, those common monomial factors located outside, you will put them together. And that will become 3x plus 2. So therefore, this is your final factors for 3x squared plus 14x plus 8. Okay, it looks like tedious to you, right? But let me assure you that this kind of method will give you and will lead you to the right answers. Okay, now let us try in this part. We have here 25x squared plus 20x plus 4. First thing we should do is we multiply the first and the last term. So we have 100x squared. After that, we will get the factors of 100x squared. So since these are both positive, therefore, let's just consider the positive values. So we have 10x and 10x. We have 100x and x. We have 50x and 2x, sorry. We have 25x and 4x. Is there any more? And we have also 20x and 5x. Okay, so I think that's the factors. Now let's add the factors. This will become 20x. I already have the answer. Okay, for the sake of this one, we have 101x, 52x, 29x, and 25x. Okay, but this is our correct pair. Okay, so now I will replace 20x with 10x and 10x. 25x squared plus 10x plus 10x plus 4. Okay, and then I will group them. Okay, then consider this as our common monomial factors. How do we extract the common monomial factor? 25 and 10, the common factor is 5. X squared and x, the common factor is x. If we extract 5x from 25x squared, we have 5x. If we extract 10x to 5x, we have positive 2. Okay, then we have a plus. What is the common factor of 10x and 4? So that is 2. So extracting 10x with 2, we have 5x. 4 divided by 2, we have 2. And as you can see, they have the same factors, so we take them as 1, 5x plus 2. And then we get the outer, and then we get the common monomial factor that is outside the quantities, that's 5x and positive 2. And we have 5x plus 2. And that is your final answer. Now, as you can see, they have the same factors for this given. This is why I have given you this, because even if you mislook that this is a perfect square trinomial, you could just put the value of 5x and then 2 and copy the plus sign with the square. However, if you overlook that and you use this kind of method, you will just arrive with the same answers. Okay? So I hope it is clear to you with our discussion for this session. And now this is the time that I will be giving you try these exercises for you to master the competencies. And here it is. I hope math learners you have understood our lesson for today's session. This is your free access math teacher Ash. And please do click that subscribe button and notification bell for you to be updated always in our discussion. Remember that it is fun to learn mathematics if we are together learning. Thank you and God bless.